Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're having another look at this IP Engineering kit for what they call the Shelley Tram locomotive, but which I'm obviously going to build as Toby the Tram Engine. So last time, if you remember, I built the essentially open box for the chassis footplate area, but I had come across a couple of issues with fitting the chassis to it. So not a huge amount of progress, but the chassis now fits. So I just thought I'd walk through that and some plans for the future and how I was going to deal with wiring and stuff. Now I've figured all the rest of the fitment out. So I've gone kind of with my original plan, adapted ever so slightly, but essentially I've got two screws holding the powered chassis to the footplate. So I've got one screw actually kind of doing the holding, so that one screws down from the top through the MDF, plywood footplate and into the chassis. So you can see it comes out in the middle here, and as I say, the holes, if you remember, in the metal chassis are tapped, so that screw holds nicely. When I first did it, I just screwed it straight through and held it with the screw pressing straight against the plywood, but it's so thin, and to make sure that the chassis didn't kind of move around too much, I was actually essentially denting the wood. So I've added this piece of black scrap styrene sheet, and it just acts basically as a washer, so it spreads the load a bit, so I'm not going to damage the wood by holding it nice and tight. I'm sure there are other ways I could have done that, but essentially this is going to be hidden by the central body section, so you won't see this when it's all nicely finished up. And then the other screw is screwed in from the bottom, so this screws in here. Again, the hole's tapped, so it screws in and holds, but it's not to actually hold the chassis to the wooden parts, it's just as a locating pin. So you can see that the screw just protrudes through the wood. I've actually cut the screw down. It still protrudes a little bit, but my plan is that I can probably either paint it or stain it black, and once the rest of the body's on again, it'll be kind of mostly hidden in the shadows of the end compartments of the loco. But that essentially just stops the powered chassis twisting. If I just held it with the one screw in the middle, you'd be able to twist it around that central pivot point. So having that pin in place allows me to stop it being able to spin while making it easy to remove. So I'll show you that. I'll just remove it so you can see how easy it is. So obviously there'll be a body built up around here, but take the lid off and I'll be able to undo one screw, and the whole thing will just, hopefully, he says, lift off. There we go. So that's how easy it is to take off to get to the powered chassis. You'll also notice that, as I said, I'd cut this hole here. That's so that it will sit flat and clear the top of the gearbox, which, if you remember from the last video, I pointed out might be a bit of an issue because the top of this gearbox actually sits proud off the side of the chassis. So that all works. If I put this back together again, I can show you one other piece that I wanted to talk about. So let me just try and show you how it's reasonably easy to relocate. As I say, hopefully I won't need to take it apart very often, so it won't be a problem, but essentially just it should, yeah, there we go. You can kind of, oops. No, I obviously didn't line that up properly. I thought I managed to line that up, but I hadn't. Let's try it again, shall we? Right. I think that's in this time. Yeah, it's in this time. So I can just continue to screw this down, and it should. There we go. I'll get better at that. but that's the general plan anyway. So there we go, back together again. So the other thing that I need to do is, obviously all the electronics are going to be housed in this central body area, but obviously I need to be able to get them to and from the motor. Now there's a slot here, but you'll notice one slight issue is that I'm going to have to route them underneath the wheels, because I've obviously got to get the wires from the motor hit this side to the slot. Not much I can do about that really, but I'm hoping that I should be able to route the wires along, probably along the side of this here. And what I might do actually is bring the wires out and clip them where there's a hole here you can see there where you can screw on a switch. There's one on either side. What I might do is route the wires towards here and then kind of clip them, maybe, I don't know, so that I can run anyway. Yeah, anyway, my plan is to run the wires underneath and around to this hole. The other option is that I could actually run the wires out of here, through this hole, and then drill another hole to get them up to the top. Haven't decided yet. One thing I am going to do is whatever wires I put on here, I'm going to have them with a plug, so that when the wires come up to the top, I can undo a plug on this side, so that if I do need to separate the body from the chassis, I can do so without the wires being all attached. So whether that's a separate plug in the wires or whether I just have it plugged straight into the control board, I don't know, and have the wires long enough. I haven't quite figured that out yet. I also haven't figured out exactly where I'm going to put the on-off switch. So if you remember, I said I wasn't going to put it where the kit had it on the end panels. I've already filled those in. You saw those in the last video. So I might put the switch on the bottom and actually use one of these points on the chassis for an on-off switch. It's in a reasonably sensible place. If you pick the, pick the loco up, I just slide my hand in and do the on-off switch under here. I have to think about that, but I still think it's nicer there than on the loco where you can see it. So yeah, so not a huge amount of progress, but it's I needed to get that sorted before I started building the rest of the body on the top, because obviously it would make it harder to figure out like drilling holes and things if I've got a body built up. But there we go. That's the progress so far. Not very much, but it is some progress at least. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe. There should be a link down here somewhere if you don't want to miss the next installment, where hopefully I will have done some work on the body panels, which should be a bit more interesting than this was. Thanks.